1963, classified as a fourth felony offender. Offense: forcible rape. Sentencing date: December 4th, 1997. Sentenced to a total of 80 years. Parole date: December 13, 2016. Good time: not eligible. Full term: December 13, 2076. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Good morning, Mr. Lemons. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good. Mr. Lemons, I'm going to just place some information in the record. Then we're going to have a conversation, okay?
Yes, sir.
Sit back and relax. Mr. Lemons, you're currently 58 years old. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're a fourth felony offender, so you have an extensive criminal background. Do you remember what the first three felony convictions were for?
Drugs, possession with intent, um, uh, cocaine. I think all three of them was for drugs, sir.
Okay, so this is your first violent and sex offense. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had a hearing in, I think, March of 2019, about 2.5 years ago,
Yes, sir.
and
March.
you were denied.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me, do you remember the reasons why you were denied?
Um, as I recall, they said I had victim opposition. Um,
Yeah, the two reasons were you had opposition from the legal community and you had victim opposition. Is that correct?
um, yes, sir. I remember.
Well, the legal community is law enforcement, the DA's office, and sometimes it is from the judge. But you did have some opposition from the legal community. And those were the two reasons why you were denied, okay?
Okay.
And you served about 25 years on an 80-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about everything you've done since March 2019. Tell me the programs that you've completed since March of 2019.
Moral recarnation therapy. I started out the program, was in it for about a year, and then the COVID came. The program was put away for a while, about 11, 12 months, and then it came back again, and I just completed. Been completed the program, but in an unofficial capacity, I've been uh, in the program helping others obtain their certificate in the program.
So you completed MRT. Any other
Yes,
programs?
sir.
Any other programs since you
Uh,
last?
I'm recently in right now 100 hours pre-release, thinking for a change, and on Fridays, every Friday, I attend the risk management program, refreshing the course. Taking a refresher course rather.
Okay. Okay. Is that the risk management sex offense or is that the risk management substance abuse?
It's risk management sex offense, sir.
Okay. So you're reviewing that course phases 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, that's excellent. That's a good idea. Um, Tell me, do you have a job at the facility?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what it is.
Kitchen. I'm a dishwasher.
The dishwasher.
Yes.
Now, you said that you were thinking for a change in 100 hours pre-release. How far along are you in those programs?
Um, Thinking for change, I think I have about 4 to 6 more sessions and 100 hour pre-release it's a refresher course as well, but I'm in it, and I think I have about 14 more sessions in that one out of
Okay.
32.
Okay. So everybody knows what 100 hours pre-release is. It's 10 modules, but I'm more interested in thinking for a change.
Yes.
How has that course so far changed your way of thinking?
Well, it can change my way of thinking in an enormous way because I was a drug addict and I was in denial of being a drug addict. I was a drug dealer as well and in denial of being both, and it changed my way dramatically because the program allows me to take the material, work it out, uh, give truth to answers and change my way of thinking, and that's what's important, changing my thinking and my old beliefs, and that changes your behavior. So the program has been working out beautiful.
Okay. When did you have your first encounter with drugs and alcohol?
When I was 17 years old, sir.
And what was your drug of choice?
Alcohol and cocaine crack, sir.
Okay. You are an admitted alcohol person and a drug addict. How long will you be an addict?
Even under treatment, I'll forever be an addict, sir.
So you have to deal with it the rest. You have to deal with it the rest of your life. Am I right?
Yes, sir. All it takes is one decision to make the mistake again.
Okay. So we're gonna get back to that later on, but I want to know what your sobriety plan is, if and when. But we'll get back to that later.
Yes.
So, are you a trustee?
No, sir.
Simply because of your offense, you can't be a trustee, right?
Yes, sir. I'll try.
Okay. You have any vocational skills? Carpentry, culinary, welding?
Well, I've worked in the kitchen about 17 years. I've completed programs. What do you mean by vocational skills?
Carpentry, welding, culinary, any vocational skill that would make it easier for you to obtain employment.
I don't have a trade, sir, other than a professional truck driver. I completed a computer's office practice course with Cornell University, and Northwestern. I participated in a paralegal program, and it was discontinued after 4 months. So,
okay. So were you employed at the time of your incarceration?
I was employed with Southern Interior. I think that was the name of the company, sir.
And what were you?
I was a truck driver.
Okay, so you have a vocational skill. Do you have your CDL?
Yes, sir. Okay. I had them. I have to renew them.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you have a skill. You
yes.
have a vocational skill.
And I graduated Diesel Driving Academy, sir. Excuse me for interrupting.
Well, that's okay. So you do have a skill. And you were employed at the time of your incarceration.
Yes.
Tell us about your transition plan. If released, where will you live and what type of employment will you seek?
Well, during my transition, upon release, I plan to report to my parole officer, report to my employer, and seek my CDL, renewal of my CDL so I could drive legally. And part of my job duties are working with my brother, helping him with maintenance on the truck and clerical office jobs, helping him with the office work and upkeep maintenance on his truck and local driving.
So you're going to be employed with your brother's company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where will you live?
With my wife at 2715 Meadows Avenue.
Okay, great.
We just recently bought a home.
Okay. And how long have you been married?
About 4 years.
Okay, great. Let's get back to the alcohol. What type of relapse prevention have you mapped out, and tell me about your sobriety plan?
Would you repeat that, please, sir?
Tell me about what you've done as far as preventing a relapse on alcohol and drugs, and just outline your sobriety plan.
Okay, I've participated in this program, Living in Balance, moving from a life addiction to a life of recovery program. I've completed that program as well, and thinking for a change and mind all the subjects. All those programs involve drug use and alcohol abuse, and what I plan to do is if I'm released, I plan to attend some AA meetings, if that could be a condition of my parole as well.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You have all this knowledge, you have all these programs completed. How will you use that knowledge to prevent a relapse when you're released? That's what a sobriety plan is.
Yeah, by attending meetings and sticking with, the knowledge that I possess or participating in the program.
And get your good sponsor.
Yes, sir. Get a good sponsor.
And you will be attending AA meetings the rest of your life.
It's necessary, sir.
Okay.
Freedom is very important.
Yeah. Let's talk about your disciplinary record. When's your last disciplinary write-up?
I think it was around 2016.
2016. Let me get to that in my presentation. Okay, it was a number 10 for fighting in August of 2016.
Yes.
So you want to tell the panel what happened?
Well, I worked in the kitchen as a scullery worker at the time. My best friend Kevin Edwards used to work another shift and used to come help me every day. I was the only person assigned to the discovery, working alone at the time, and Kevin, my best friend, and Barbara used to come help me every day on the evening shift, and we was just horse playing. But horse playing is technically called fighting up here. So we was accused of fighting by just horse playing. He was the one, Kevin was the one, when they sent me out to camp, got with my wife and straightened them out, that we was just horse playing.
Okay. I'm just going to enter some information. You do have a moderate risk assessment, which is a cause for concern. A moderate risk assessment tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. I don't see where they did a static 99 on Warren Falgood.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a static 99 instrument in your records?
No, sir. They do that at headquarters.
Okay, so even though you're a sex offender, I don't see a static 99. So we're just gonna pass that by. You've completed anger management, substance abuse, and your sex offender treatment. And as you said
Yes.
before, you're now taking a refresher course, and you're taking Thinking
Yes.
for Change. Have you taken victim awareness?
No, sir.
I think that's a very important part of your rehabilitation, to put yourself in a victim's place. And I think no matter what happens today, I think we're going to make sure that you have some victim awareness training. And maybe, just maybe, if you sit down and write a victim accountability letter, it will give you a chance to get out what you want to say to the victim of this crime. And I'm going to enter this information into the record, Mr. Lemons, but there's little you can do about this. You have expressed opposition from every member of the legal community. The judge has expressed her opposition to this early release. The DA's office in North Louisiana has expressed their opposition. Law enforcement, you have a poor supervision history. You were on supervision on 2 occasions, and you were revoked both times. You have an extensive criminal history. You're a 4th felony offender. And you have a moderate risk assessment, which tells us that you have a moderate chance of reoffending. So there's nothing you can do about that. I have not made a decision yet.
Yes.
I will sit back and I will listen. I will listen to my colleagues. I will listen to the speakers. If there's anybody in opposition, I will listen to those. And I will listen to the summation of your attorney. And then I'll make a decision.
Yes.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Jackson has questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Lemons.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
When was your last hearing? Was it in 2019 or 18?
2019, ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't a member of the panel then, so I wasn't part of that hearing. And so I don't have any prior knowledge of you. Who was the victim of the rape?
Miss Kim Marks.
And what was her relationship to you?
She was a cousin.
What degree?
First cousin.
Okay. Miss Marks chose not to be here today, but she did send us a letter indicating that she probably feels more strongly today that you shouldn't be released than she did at the hearing. And as I was reading her letter, you know, it's kind of ironic that what really bothered her, Mr. Lemon, is that you wouldn't even refer to her by name. You referred to her as that person. She came into the hearing hoping to hear some apology, some acceptance of responsibility, some remorse on your part. And she said she heard none of that. And she left the hearing feeling more victimized than when she started the hearing, which is why she chose not to make an appearance today. So I would like for you to tell me why you were not able to tell your cousin that what you did to her was horrible, that you regretted it, and asked for her forgiveness. Tell me about that.
I remember. We are talking about the first parole round.
I'm talking about the hearing from 2 years ago. She said, I was present for the parole hearing 2 years ago, and I'm writing at this time because I do not want to endure the anger and frustration I felt at the last hearing.
I think if I could just
Okay,
interject.
that was 16. That would have been 2016.
Right.
Okay.
I was really blindsided. I had anticipated that parole hearing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea, really no idea that opposition would be present. You know, I
So
did
what? But it was.
Yes, ma'am.
And with your cousin.
I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
I did my 20 years, and during the hearing, I heard opposition, and I was just totally in shock because I had no idea, and the opposition was on speakers, and I had no idea that there was going to be any opposition. And not only did it surprise me, it really made me lose my wit. I couldn't think clearly. You know, I didn't even know I did not apologize, express remorse. You know, I was just so shocked by it, ma'am.
Well, I mean, over the course of your, okay, so let me talk. You want to do all the talking, let me talk, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You took the sex offender treatment. You had taken that at the time of your hearing in 2016. Is that correct? When did you take risk management?
I'm not sure what year it was, ma'am. But what I did learn about the sex risk management program, because I've been wanting to write letters, but the risk management program taught me what I learned from the risk management program was that I could have no contact with the victim, regardless of being my cousin or not. I could not express anything I wanted to express to her about how remorseful or sorry I was. That's what the risk management program teaches us, that it's forbidden by law to contact them, to write letters, to express anything about the crime.
But at the hearing, you can do that. At the hearing, you can do that. But I'd like to ask you, though, rape is always hard to understand. But your first cousin, why on earth would you sexually assault your first cousin?
Ma'am, I'm really sorry.
No, but tell me the why. Just tell me why. Why do you think, looking back now, why do you think you would, one, choose to sexually assault anyone, and then for it to be a close family member? What?
It didn't. I had been drinking White Lightning liquor, and spiking it with knee-high grape soda pop, and smoking crack cocaine. And initially, I was engaged to be married, and my fiance had left and had been visiting me for 3 days. And I was just drinking, and the kids would come by after school, and I was just, this particular night, abusing the White Lightning liquor with knee-high grape soda and smoking crack cocaine. And initially, when I went to our house, I went there to actually use the car, to take the car. I was really angry. And while I was there, she went to asking me questions about, I do recall the incident. My cousin went to asking me questions about how was the kids, and how's Brenda, and at some point I had asked for a glass of water. She had brought me a glass of water or something, and what it did was, this is going against what I've been taught, taking total responsibility, but the water reactivated the alcohol, and the questioning angered me, and I attacked her. It's just an unexcusable explanation, but I didn't go there to assault my first cousin. I
But you
love my
did.
first cousin.
Okay, but you did. And
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think you really understand what that did to her.
Oh, well, yes, I do, ma'am.
Well,
I
tell me.
understand what it did to the whole family, the ripple
Well,
effect,
let's
ma'am.
talk about her. Let's talk about her.
Yes,
What do you
ma'am.
think that did to her, her
Ma'am,
life?
it scared the daylights out of me. Ma'am, it scared me as well. I
See, it's not
cried.
about you. See, there you
I
go.
understand,
There you
ma'am.
go. You want to talk about how you cried.
We
See,
cried, ma'am. Ma'am, we cried. And we
with
talked
who?
about what I had did, and I
Okay,
apologized
who did you talk to about that?
with Kim, my
When?
cousin. The night the incident, immediately after it happened, ma'am. And I wrote my parole officer information down to her for her, and I asked her let me get help. That particular night, I went to her nightstand and I wrote the parole, Mark Masters, I wrote his information down. I told her I was going to turn myself in. The next morning, I asked her let me get help, you know. And later on, my brother told me and my cousin told me that she wanted me to do 20 years, and I told her I'd do it. When my lawyer came to me and with the deal, 80-year deal, they couldn't understand why I was taking the 80 years because during the discussion, she told me I would only do 20 years. Kim had asked me through my brother and my other cousin, to do 20 years. She wanted me to do 20 years. And I was glad to do 20 years because I was so distraught and messed up about it. I didn't even think about no other family, my kids. I just wanted to do 20 years, man. And that's when I accepted the 20 years. When they offered it to me, I accepted 20 years because Kim had told them that she wanted me to do 20 years, and that's the deal. I accepted that. But I cried, we talked about our family, our grandmothers, our mothers. Our mothers are sisters, man.
I know that's how you got to be first cousins.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Lemon. Like I said, this is my first time hearing your case, and so there are things that the other board members may be familiar with that I don't know about, and I just wanted to talk to you about that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Roche.
Ms. Jackson, I must apologize. I didn't include the latest update on the victim. In the latest update on the victim, she spoke to the victim coordinator, system coordinator, and she submitted a statement when it was contacted on October 8th, 2021. And I should have included that information in my presentation, and I did not. But the comments, and I'm going to paraphrase the comments of Mrs. Hanks, who is Kim Mark Hanks. Hanks is her married name. And that statement was submitted to the Victim Assistance Coordinator on October 8th, 2021. And this should shed some light on what Mr. Lemon said and the position of his victim, who is his first cousin. Ms. Hanks stated that she previously was contacted and received a victim's package that was mailed to her. Her statement on this date was as follows, and I quote, "We are first cousins. Our moms are sisters, and I love my aunt. I will have to talk it over with my family. I am not advocating for parole. That is how I feel right now. My cousin has contacted me. So Mr. Cousin has contacted Mrs. Hanks. And she stated that he wants me to write a statement in favor of his parole. I am not going to do that. I was told when contacted that my aunt's dying wish is to see him out. I don't want to deny her dying wish. But I feel like the parole board knows his criminal history. They know his record. So whatever they decide to do, I will think about. And if I decide to write a statement, I will send it later. Also, an addendum, they give a residency plan with Miss Ethel Hollis at 5810 Attaway Drive. This was his residency plan, but from my understanding that Mrs. Lemons, the mother, is now deceased. Is that true, Mr. Lemons?
Miss Hollis, yes, she's deceased, sir.
Yeah.
But my
So,
resident,
so the latest position of the victim is that she is going to defer to the parole board, but she is not advocating for a parole, and she is against writing a statement that was requested by the offender she was in favor of a parole. And a part of the addendum also is that the parole officer stated that he's a fourth offender. His instance offense is a forcible rape, which was reduced from the greater offense of aggravated rape as a part of a plea deal. He said Mr. Lemons also brought duct tape and a knife when he came to his cousin's house. He had prior arrests for violent offenses, but all of his convictions were for drug charges. He's been released on good time parole a number of times in the past, but he's always committed new crimes during these periods. And that is the latest addendum from the parole officer that prepared this PPI. So she is not opposed any longer, but she is deferring to the decision of the parole board. And she is not willing to write a statement as requested by the offender in favor of his early release.
Thank you, Mr. Roche.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and hear from support. If we could hear from Miss Anita Lemons.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm Anita Lemons, Wilbur Lemons' wife. I knew Wilbur back then and I know him now. And he has changed tremendously. You want to keep hearing that? He will be working with his brother upon his release, if y'all forbid it. Um, and we also have other, yeah, he have plenty of support, a good support group. And for his work, he got plenty of work if he come home, when he come home. I need my husband to come home.
Thank you, Miss Lemons. We appreciate y'all being with us today. Mr. Lemons, is there a statement you'd like to make before we turn it over to Mr. Beck?
Yes, I just like to say that, that I understand my past, you know, and I understand, but I wanted to correct some about the parole board. About the parole. I did complete one of my paroles in the past. I think it was my second parole, 5-year parole. I completed that and received my ammunition paperwork and stuff. So I did complete one of my paroles. But I understand my past with drugs and alcohol abuse. I even understand the crime. But this was the reason I taken the rehab programs, to establish new thinking and new behavior, so I can make better moral decisions. And I just ask that y'all take that into consideration. I have a job lined up. I have plenty of family support. I have a resident plan, and I've taken the rehab programs. And I, I did not contact the victim because I understood from risk management that this was forbidden. So I myself did not contact the victim. I wanted a letter, true, but I through my lawyer, I thought that was not me personally being accused of contacting the victim, but I just ask that y'all please take in consideration my effort to rehabilitate and my planning to establish myself as a productive citizen again, upon my transition back upon release. I've spent 25 years here doing my prison, just trying to stay out of trouble. My children, 7 children, have grown to be nice young men and nice young women. I understand the victim's position, but I have grandchildren now, that I want to spend some time with my grandchildren, teaching them responsibility and work ethic and spend time with my wife, I just wish that and pray that God touch y'all heart to take some of these things in consideration.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Beck, I'm sorry. I'm going to ask Warden Falgout if there's anything else he'd like to add, and then I'll turn it over to you. Warden Falgout?
At this point, no, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Beck.
Yes, ma'am. Members of the board, thank you very much for hearing this today. I've been practicing law for 35 years. I began my practice in 1986, and the primary focus of my practice is representing people who are accused of crimes against the state. So I've been through a lot of these hearings, and I've been through a lot of cases with people who have some really serious crimes that they've been charged with. I will tell you honestly, in my 35 years of doing this, I have never had a client who was more mild-mannered, kinder, or more appreciative of the work that I'm doing for him than Mr. Lemons. And I mean that sincerely. Over the past 2 years, I've gotten to know him, and I've gotten to know his family, and more particularly, I've gotten to know his wife. And I think he's an example of how the system has worked. He was convicted. And I've reviewed his record. He was justly convicted, and he was sentenced. And the purpose of our Department of Corrections and our correctional program is to penalize. First of all, he's been penalized. He's sat in jail for the past 25 years. He's been segregated from society, from his family, and his liberty has been tremendously curtailed. So he has received a penalty for this offense, a 25-year penalty thus far. He has also been rehabilitated. I think that's the second portion of our correctional program, is to correct behavior. I believe that he has taken part in as many programs as he could. Certainly since the last parole hearing, which I was at, he was instructed to take part in some programs. He has done that. He's taken refresher courses, and he's willing to continue to do that as a condition of parole, should he be allowed parole at this time. The gentleman's behavior today, as I have sat and talked with him, and as I have observed him through this course of 2 years, is not the same person who would have committed a crime such as he was charged with and such as he was committed for. I don't see that. And I'm speaking from my heart as a lawyer who represents him, but also as a person who has done this for quite a while. As to contacting the victim, I will admit that I contacted the victim through her mother. I did not speak with the young lady individually, but on behalf of my client, I felt it was my duty to reach out. I indicated to you in the original parole application that we filed, which resulted in a hearing today, that I had done so. And I gave you all the contact number for her mother, who I did speak with, who said she would be willing to talk with you all. I'm going to quote from the paper that I wrote to you. Since then, and very recently, counsel for Mr. Lemons reached out to the victim of his now 24-year-old offense. She was reached through her mother at 318-636-5467, who told counsel that she does not object to Mr. Lemons being released from prison on parole. I wanted to make sure that I was clear about that, because Mr. Lemons himself, as far as I know, did not contact her. That contact was made by me. In that communication, I did tell her mother that I understood that she did not want to speak with me, and I respected that. But if she wanted to write a letter to the board, that would certainly be helpful. So I believe that that came from me, and I apologize if that has caused her any anguish. I would also like to read from the application parole that we filed, Mr. Lemon's own words, and that's the very last paragraph of the application. In Mr. Lemon's own words, quote, "I am remorseful of my crime committed against Mrs. Marks, and I apologize to her, her family, my family, and society, and I pray to spend whatever remainder of my life with my wife and kids and other family members." That was given to me directly by Mr. Lemons. It's a quote, and I wrote it down into the application that we filed. That's really all that I have. I just wanted to clarify that and to tell you my experience with this gentleman, and hope that your consideration will be favorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. I think the panel's prepared to vote. We'll start with Mr. Roche.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go into a brief executive session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Ms. Jackson has second. I agree. So it's a unanimous consensus to go into executive session to discuss confidential matters. Stand by, everyone. We'll be right back.
Thank you all.
Session. We're prepared to vote. We'll be starting with Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Lemons, out of your own wisdom, you start to take a refresher course in sex offender. I think you completed the last phase of sex offender in 2016. And out of your own volition, you thought it was necessary to refresh yourself in sex offender treatment. And I thought that was a wise decision. Your crime is horrendous. You went to your first cousin's home, I really believe, to do exactly what you did. duct tape and knife visiting the first cousin, that doesn't bear well for you. But you have spent 25 years of incarceration. You've taken the prerequisite programs, and I'm going to grant conditionally, and this is what you have to do prior to your release. Since you started taking risk management, I want you to complete it again. I want you to complete Thinking for a Change, and I want you to enroll in victim awareness. And I want you to complete that. You have 9 months as a refresher course, so you should be able to finish the sex offender treatment, finish your Thinking for a Change, and complete victim awareness. Once you're released, you are to have a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you have to work or you're in church at a late hour, you must get permission from your parole officer before you're out after 9, even if it's a legitimate reason. You have to get permission. I think alcohol and maybe drugs played an important part in this crime. So I want you to attend at least 2 NAAA meetings a week to make sure that you don't go back to your addiction. There will be no contact with the victim unless your parole officer gets a written request from the victim. But I'm going to put a no contact order with the victim. And I can't do the victim with the victim. And I can't do the victim's family because the victim's family is your family. But I absolutely want no contact with the victim unless she requested in writing and it's approved by your parole officer, who will contact this parole board to get their signature and approve that waiver of that particular condition. You following me so far?
Yes, sir.
And I know you're what, 58 years old?
Yes, sir.
But I want you to get back to the community. So I'm going to place some community service on you. Get with your parole officer. Get with your pastor. And find some avenue in which you can do some community service as payback for your offense,
Yes.
along with the 25 years you served. Mr. Lemons, I'm only one vote. I'm giving you a chance.
Thank you, sir.
Please do not abuse the opportunity in which I'm affording you.
Thank you, sir.
And I don't have to say it, you will have to register as a sex offender. And I don't know which tier you're going to fall under. But it may be for 25 years, it may be for life. But you have to register as a sex offender and follow all requirements of that registration. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Jackson?
All right, Mr. Lemons, I'm going to concur with Mr. Roche, simply because you are retaking those classes, which I think you really need to do. So I'm going to grant conditional on completion of risk management, thinking for a change, victim awareness, and with the same conditions of release as Mr. Roche.
Mr. Lemons, my vote is the same for the same reasons. You understand those conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Sit on the front row in those classes. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank y'all.